Okay, so what I wanted to talk about for this week, and the suite of episodes this week, was about the idea of caregiving. And we see that in the first episode where Stan is having a bypass surgery, and then he is going to be living with, or ends up living with, the girls for 3 months. And we see that it's essentially, like, I want to talk about caregiving because I feel like this was a thing that kind of threw Dorothy for a loop and threw the girls for a loop. They weren't interested in recognizing the value of having Stan as a friend. I mean, to be honest, he wasn't that great of a friend. And also that he was outside of the family unit was one of the reasons that Dorothy gave as not having an interest. And then both Rose and Blanche kind of chime in that it's he's not their responsibility. And Sophia reminds them that because Dorothy married him, that they're connected through the bonds of marriage, so that she owes him. And this is a thing that I find really interesting, is how straight people do this thing where there's an expectation that through family we're going to look after each other when we're older. And I don't necessarily have the answers for this as a queer person, because I feel like in a lot of ways I have made the decision to let down my genetic family. Because I am not, when I'm going to say it so casually, it sounds actually really terrible. I'm not interested in doing caregiving for my parents. I feel like I have other friends who were older queers who, because they didn't have children and families of their own, they were expected to be the caregivers for their parents as they aged, and essentially had to give up any relationship or life in the city that they were living, because coming from Newfoundland, it was friends that would have to move back from, whether it was Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, whatever, one of the 3 gay cities in Canada that they moved to. And it was a thing that I found so frustrating to hear. And I do think that I actually have a positive relationship with my parents, and feel like we've divorced ourselves from this idea that parents should be kind of a part of the family, like when you have your own family and you have kids, when you do the nuclear family thing, that then you get to shove your parents into a home as opposed to incorporate them into your life. The problem that happens with that model is that it ends up leaving queer children the burden through guilt, because we have already failed our parents once, so we are easily guilted into taking on the role of caregiver. So I'm saying no, and encouraging my siblings to take on the role of caregiving. Thankfully, my father decided to marry someone my age, so he's got the caregiving role kind of basically on lock right now. It's bully to you, Dad. But my mother is quite a different story, and she's essentially, we're having conversations with my siblings about what is going to be the most sustainable way for her to receive care from my siblings and be connected in their family lives. I think it's selfish of me, and I think it's been framed as selfish of me to not want to give back to the people that brought me into this world, that kind of, that put me on this planet and spent their time raising me. And I have this submissive boy that has been staying with me for a month, and I've been doing terrible things to him for a lot longer, and he's a cute baby nihilist, where he's really committed to being a nihilist, and he's fuck everything, I hate everything, and nothing matters, and I don't care. and I find that adorable. And he talks about how he didn't ask to be born, and I'm like, girl, that is the most tired excuse for not participating in our kind of like social contract. It's because I didn't ask to be born. It's like, well, tough shit, you were. However, I feel like I'm vibing with him a little on this, where it's like, I didn't ask to be your caregiver. I didn't sign up for this contract where I give up the life that I have that was actually really hard won against all of the confines of a straight world to be able to cobble together a life for myself and then to give that up as an adult, where I feel like for a lot of queer people, us coming to ourselves and finding a good rhythm in our comfortability in our skin and in our queerness actually only happens as we kind of ripen into a beautiful banana-like adulthood. And actually, bananas, when they are the most sweetest and beautiful, is when they are fully black and squishy bags of snot. That is actually when you get the most banana flavor and the most sweetness. So I think that it's this idea that I am a fan of eating the banana when it's green-ish yellow, because I don't like the bruising and all of that. But if you actually are in it to win it for flavor and you're going to make something with it, that's why we put our bananas in the freezer for banana bread, because you want it's the oldness of it. So if I'm going to be that selfish old queen that's refusing to contribute to my parents' well-being, thankfully I have siblings that I can foist them onto. But what does that mean in terms of looking out for each other, or because I'm speaking in the first person, what does it mean for looking out for me as a queer person who is single and doesn't have a marriage family and is making decisions that I'm not going to do caregiving for my biological parents? I feel like this is a thing that I've brought up a couple of times, but it's the girls kind of bring this up for me, is my spiritual gay dad, my friend Doug in Montreal, who he and his partner Jacques told me that they kind of adopted me into their family a bunch of years ago. Doug died of AIDS accelerated cancer in 2013, and it was a beautiful moment to be able to be there and with this person that meant so much to me and still means so much to me, and see that even living on disability and totally busted ass broke, depending on the state for basic needs, and having